the second lecture of Full Metal Jacket, and you can see here the 5 points I'm going to follow. And we begin then again with Eros and Thanatos, which we saw in Top Gun, but here it's much more seriously taken up. This ain't no date movie. In fact, it's this is in no way a pleasant film about sex and death, but at the same time, it's probably a lot closer to this is a very different take. It's really not Hollywood. This is very much an auteurist film. It's very much more European. Kubrick is essentially an expat American who's begun making films that come completely from a different worldview, which I would argue is thoroughly still part of the American New Wave. And Kubrick was one of the last survivors of the American New Wave. Let me start then with the two different essentially uses of Nancy Sinatra's "These Boots Are Made for Walking." So the first comes from the Anderson platoon. Now, Captain Anderson, as at this point a lieutenant, becomes very famous because Pierre Schoendorfer, who is a Frenchman of a German background, as you can tell from his last name, who fought in Vietnam in the French War in Vietnam when the French fought the Viet Minh for basically most of the 50s until they get tied up in Dien Bien Phu, and that's the end of the French War in what they called Indochina. And French Indochina then falls, and the French have to leave. The whole army surrenders to the North Vietnamese communists, who basically win the war. And the French sue to America for help, and America, under Dwight D. Eisenhower in '56, says, no, we're not helping. We're not going to drop paratroopers we're not going to drop troops or support into what we see as a losing war. And that's the end of the French War in Indochina. Schoendorfer becomes a filmmaker and makes a very fine documentary, probably one of the finest documentaries, arguably the finest combat documentary that has been made in the 20th century. It's very hard to beat this film. It's very quiet. It's beautifully made. And he follows the Anderson platoon, as it's called, for a month, and he goes on patrol with them. So the filmmakers take the same risks that the combat soldiers do. And Schoendorfer, who was in combat and is used to that, is prepared, essentially goes back and makes his film about the first black West Pointer who goes to Vietnam. And so here are his men walking through Vietnam. And so this has been removed from, they re-released the film in a sort of not good version of it, and they obviously could not get the rights to These Boots Are Made for Walking, which is a famous song by Nancy Sinatra. And but Schoendorfer did use it in his original, and so I've got a clip of that here. And you can see the men literally walking through the mud of Vietnam. And so this lecture is going to start off with these boots, and you have to keep your image, keep your eye on the ball, basically, for what's going to happen to these boots. Okay, so have a look at this first clip of the Anderson platoon. Okay.
On a Sunday afternoon, matter of fact, Miss Nancy Sinatra, boots are made for a walk-in.
Something you call love, but confess you've been a messin' where you shouldn't have been a messin', and now someone else is getting all your best. These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days these boots are gonna walk all over you. had to burn. Ha! I just found me a brand new box of matches, yeah. And what he knows you ain't had time to learn. These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days these boots are gonna walk all over you.
What you'll see if here you look at this still is that Schoendorfer has really lined this up nicely. He starts off by showing you Armed Forces Radio Vietnam because the military, the army, ran the media that was available to the troops basically in Vietnam. You could get the Stars and Stripes and you could get Armed Forces Radio, which is what guys were listening to. So this is where Good Morning Vietnam, the film, which was not, it's a picture of Adrian Cronauer, played by Robin Williams, and Cronauer was a famous DJ essentially in Vietnam. Okay, it's just such a typical piece of Hollywood. But anyway, so if you see Good Morning Vietnam, you are not in any way looking at a documentary. You're looking at very much a Hollywood view of Cronauer's time in Vietnam as a disc jockey. Which he said, we never got away with that stuff. But anyway. And then, okay. So now we come to the way that Kubrick opens his film. Same song, different boots. Have a look.
You keep saying you got something for me, something you call love, but confess you've been a messin' where you shouldn't have been a messin', and now someone else is getting all your best. These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days these boots are gonna walk all
Hey,
over
baby.
you.
You got girlfriend, Vietnam?
Not just this minute.
Yeah.
Well, baby, me so horny. Me so horny.
You keep lying.
Me love
when
you
ought
long
to be
time.
truthin'.
You party?
Yeah,
You
we might
keep
party.
losing when you
How
are
much?
not there.
$15?
$15
You
for both
keep
of us.
saying
No,
it
each you
when you ought to be
$15.
changing.
Me love you long time.
Now what's right
Me
is
so
right,
horny.
but you ain't been right yet.
$15 two buku. $5 each.
Me sucky sucky.
And that's
Me
just
love you
what they'll
too much.
do. One of these days these
$5
boots
is
are
all my mom
gonna
allows
walk
me to
all
spend.
over you.
Okay, $10 each.
What do we get for $10?
Everything you want.
Everything?
Everything.
You keep playing where
Well,
you
old buddy.
be playing,
Feel like spending some of your hard-earned money?
and you keep thinking that you'll never
You know,
get
half these
burned.
goo quarters are serving officers in the Viet Cong.
I just found
The other
me a
half have got
brand new
TB.
box of matches,
Be sure you only
yeah.
fuck the ones that cough.
And what he knows you ain't had time to learn. These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days these boots are gonna walk all over you.
Okay, so what I want you to see there is the difference between the physicality of which we saw in Platoon, but here it is again, of the men actually walking through the jungles and the basically of Vietnam, and that's what it looks like. It's muddy, it's dirty, it's dangerous, and it's dangerous physically, it's treacherous, and so on, and that becomes the opening of the second half of the film, because we're now really going to talk about the second half of the movie, where the prostitute, basically it looks as though the boots have become the high heels of the prostitute here. who seems to be running things, or is she? And she has a fight then, because she's negotiating with the Joker and Rafterman, for how much the sex is going to cost, what exactly they're going to get. And Joker will keep on saying, what are we going to get? The Lust Hog Squad as well, and Cowboy will say, what are we going to get? And the prostitutes will promise everything you want. And that is what they're after. They want everything. So keep your eye on these shoes and what's going to happen with, the boots that are the physical men walking in Vietnam, the prostitutes' high heels, and then the deal where the Vietnamese here steals Rafterman's camera and does this little Bruce Lee thing. And Joker's like, fine, I'll play. You want to play? I'll play. He doesn't care. The America's, as they say, the land of the big PX, the post-exchange. So what we have here is this combination with we go from the sort of brutal reality of the men walking through this foreign country to the sexuality of the prostitute who is just trying to survive. And she's coughing, so she's not well. And this, as far as Joker means, as far as he's concerned, it means she's safe. She's not she's not Viet Cong, because she's got TB. So, okay, as always, sex and death come together here.